All right, part two. Part two. Okay, so I've got f of x is this, and then g of x is negative 5x over x minus 1, right? So let me make sure I have that correct. Take 5x plus 1 over x minus 1, and yeah, x minus 1 over x plus 5. Okay, so g of f of x. So this way, if you want to go back and do it, skip part 1, and hopefully I'll be much clearer in part 2 on this. Okay, so now I'm going to plug my f of x. I'm going to plug this thing in for all of these, right? So that's going to be negative. And I'm going to get 5 times x, which is x minus 1 over x plus 5, okay, plus 1. And then in my denominator, I'm going to get x, which is x minus 1 over x plus 5 minus 1. Okay? Okay. All right. So now I'm going to do just like I did over there. I'm going to multiply the entire thing by 1. So what sense does that make? Well, it's a form of 1 that's going to be easier to use. Right? Okay. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by x plus 5 over x plus 5. Right? So if I take this x plus 5 and I distribute it into here, I'm going to get x plus 5 over x plus 5. And that's going to leave me with 5 times x minus 1.
Professor, can you use the bathroom?
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. I'm going to get this x minus 1 over x plus 5 times x plus 5. So those are going to cancel, right? I'm going to be left with 5 times x minus 1. Okay. And then I'm going to get x plus 5 times 1, which is, so, x plus 5. Okay? And then in the numerator, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to be left with x minus 1 minus 1 times x plus 5. So minus x plus 5. Okay. Okay, so far we're good, right? I think everything's fine. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to bring it up here though. So I'm going to get 5x minus 5. 5x minus 5 plus x plus 5. Right? And by the way, this is one big negative. So don't forget that negative sign. It's kind of where I was being a little careless. I've got x minus 1 minus x minus 5. Okay, so I've got x minus x. Those will cancel. I've got minus 5 plus 5. Those will cancel. Right? And that's going to leave me with, I've got that negative sign there, negative. And I got 5x plus x, which is 6x, right, over minus 1 minus 5, which is a negative 6, right? So 6 over 6 is just 1. Negative over a negative is a positive. There we go. All right. Yes. Did that one much cleaner, right? So. Okay, so any questions on that? So that was fun. That was fun, right? Fun with numbers, fun with algebra. Yeah. It's like they say when you get into calculus. So being good with your algebra, very important, right? Knowing what you're doing, I guess. So being a little more careful is what I should be, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So I was trying to skip steps here, But when you get into higher level math, it's kind of like, I remember my calc prof saying, calculus is a little bit of calculus, and then you do a lot of algebra, right? Because a lot of what calculus is doing is you do the derivative, and then you use a lot of algebra to clean it up, right? So that's what we're doing here. We did a lot of algebra to clean it up, right? To show that they are the inverse of each other. And they are. So I got f of g of x is x, and g of f of x is x. And so that shows that they are the inverse of each other. And as I did in part one, I found the inverse of f, and it was indeed g of x. So, okay, so any questions or thoughts on inverse functions? Let's see, do we have any applications of that? Hourly wage. Got an hourly wage of $8 plus 75 cents per unit produced. So it's got a function, find the inverse. Let me do that quick. So you guys got nowhere to go, come on. Right? 1 o'clock class? No? Okay, so if I've got my total wage is y equals 8 plus 0.75x. And so I get $8 an hour plus, this is my hourly wage, right? $8 plus a commission for every unit that I produce, like a per diem type rate. And find the inverse, so the inverse should be pretty easy, right? So x equals 8 plus 0.75y. I'm going to solve for y here. X minus 8 over 0.75. Right. So what does each variable represent in the inverse function? So this is my wage as a function of units produced. This would be x, any value of x over 8, right? So I think this would be my, what would this be? So again, you got wage and units produced, and now the inverse function is going to look like this, right? X is 8, and then it's going to go look like that. That would that be? Yeah. So this is my wage function, and this is my inverse wage function, right? So, yeah. So what does that mean? What would you say about the inverse function? What would that mean? So this function, obviously, this tells me I get a base wage of $8. The more units I produce, I get 75 cents per unit as the number of units I produce. This is wage is a function of units produced. Oh, hey, Drew.
Hello.
So yeah, think about that, right? We can talk about it tomorrow. What would that be when I did the inverse here? Units produced as a function of wage, or? Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll try to upload that.